Right. Well, good afternoon, wherever you're at. I hope you and your family are getting ready to get ready for a very happy holiday season. My guest today, Miss Sonya Lyles, with Lincoln Heritage. One of my teammates is doing an absolutely fantastic job, and we want to highlight what she's doing. She went from a auto salesperson a couple years ago to coming on to Lincoln Heritage. Went out in the field and has transitioned from the field to telesales. If you are watching this and you're interested in finding out more about our organization and what we do, we own a 7-state region: Arkansas, Kansas, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and West Virginia. So if you're looking for an opportunity somewhere along here, top, bottom of the screen, somewhere on our tickers here, you'll be able to see the opportunity and the information to reach out to us. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Miss Sonya Lyles. So Sonya, you there?
I am,
Hey,
Corey.
I appreciate your time, Sonia. So I've been working with you for a little bit. I know you kind of own our telesales operation, if you will. I know I hop on there from time to time, and you're on there helping
Sure.
people. You're helping some of our teammates. I want to first of all tell you thank you for your time this afternoon, but just as if more important, thank you for the people that you're helping across our 7-state region. It's pretty awesome what you're doing, and I think it's important that people hear your story, hear what you're doing, hearing the successes and all kind of stuff that you're having. So to get started off, I know you're down, or I should, from St. Louis. I know you're in beautiful Memphis. So I don't think you were born and
I
raised
am.
there. How did you get to Memphis?
I actually got to Memphis on a relocation. I was managing Cracker Barrels, and
Okay.
I was relocated to Memphis. I left Cracker Barrel during COVID and decided, to go into sales. So,
Wow.
so yeah.
And you didn't start off in insurance sales.
I did not. But I did start off in auto sales when I made the transition. But I was in insurance back in 2008. I did sell insurance at that time,
Okay.
so it was my second time doing insurance.
Well, awesome. Well, you're absolutely crushing it now. So you must have taken
Thank you.
something that you've learned and transitioned to this. So if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, you're from St. Louis. I almost say Columbia. You're from St. Louis, but you're a Mizzou grad or went to Mizzou.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm from St. Louis.
Okay.
But yeah, but Mizzou, my Columbia, Missouri is really home to me because from age 18 up until moving to Memphis in 2016, I was in Columbia, Missouri.
Got it. So people obviously maybe they won't or they do because Stephen will be on the show here
Sure.
probably within the next couple of weeks. So if I understand correctly, you and Stephen worked at an auto dealership, and then
We
Ernest
did.
recruited Stephen, and then Stephen talked to you and brought you here. And you've been here for a couple of years now, right?
I have.
Okay, awesome. So you went from selling cars to coming here. So did you start telesales, or did you start in the field and transition, or just telesales?
So it was a natural transition for me to be a field agent because I was used to being with the people face to face. Face to face sales is all I had ever done. Yeah, I started in the field and then I transitioned to telesales about a year ago.
Okay. What made you transition? Because I know a lot of people think, oh, telesales, I get to, have my favorite cup of coffee every day and put my favorite
Hmm.
sweatshirt,
Hmm.
sweatpants
Hmm.
on and get to chill out. And then people come to me and it's simple. It's really easy. Explain that to people.
I'll be transparent. I always thought that field sales was a lot stronger and that I would not be good at telesales, but something actually happened. We went to a conference for Lincoln Heritage in St. Louis, and somehow in the course of going to St. Louis, I fell ill with pneumonia.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up staying in St. Louis for another 30 days. Of course, since that's where I'm from, I got to stay at mom's house.
That's
So I
good.
was at mom's house for 30 days before I could make it back to Memphis, and that was a financial drain. It meant that I went 30 days without income
Oh, wow.
because I was a field agent. And I kind of had a mindset change, if I was telesales, I could have, even while I was in bed, I still could have made income for myself.
Mhm.
And so And, I had a few different times in the field where I had car issues. I couldn't run appointments that day. And different things just kind of gave me a mindset change. Well, I need to start changing my skill set and incorporate telesales. And so for some time, the reason I say I just switched a year ago is because I was hybrid for a while, where
Okay.
I was in the field a few days and I was on the phone for a few days.
Okay.
And eventually I decided if I'm going to get strong, very strong at telesales, I've got to commit to it. And
Got it.
so I pulled myself out the field finally.
And you said it's been about a year, right?
I would say, yeah, a year since I have been in the field.
So when you made that transition, because I also sell hybrid as well, I find myself feeling like I'm better in the field. I can use my personality. I can look at
Hmm.
things around the house. I can build that rapport. I've heard you on several calls, and
Hmm.
I think I've heard a lot of other telesales agents. I think you're very good. I think you're very thorough. It sounds like you've done it a million times. I think you make people very
Hmm.
comfortable. I can
Thank
hear
you.
the rapport you're building even through the phone, which not everybody has that skill set. Even though it can be learned, not everybody has it. So speak
Okay,
to
correct.
coming transitioning to the field, being hybrid, and then going full virtual. Explain that. Like, what's your process? Do you need more leads? How many calls a day are you making? Because I really want our new teammates. Everybody thinks it's simple. I want our new teammates to understand if you're going to go full virtual, which is great, by the way, what
Hmm.
really is entailed to be successful at it.
So, in all honesty, you have to take more leads if you're going to be successful in telesales. So I still, even though you see me do this quite a bit, I still consider myself part-time telesales, and not,
Huh.
and I feel that I'm transitioning to full-time telesales. Let me explain to you why. With insurance, full-time does not mean the time that you're present. Full-time means the time you're committing to income-producing activity.
Beautifully said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So I now have a system of tracking my income producing activity, and I do a lot of tracking. And it was an eye opener. I realized, wow, a lot of that time is admin, shuffling leads. And so I had to transition to a CRM. And that has given me a little more income producing activity because I was spending a lot of time shuffling paper
Yeah.
when I could be prospecting.
Yeah.
Um, so the CRM is a must for telesales.
Oh yeah.
And also, and then you're getting a higher volume of leads because your conversion's a lot lower over the phone than it is face to face. So typically, a field agent, a strong field agent, um, should be getting about 20 to 25 leads a week. I know that can sound scary to some people,
Hmm.
but in telesales, you need to be getting, 30 to 40 plus leads a week. And that is going to actually, if you're looking for really high production, that's where you're going to fall, because 20 to 25 leads is going to get you about 10,000 in AP a month. You do 25 to 35 leads, you're going to be looking around 15,000 in AP to maybe 20. But if you want to do over 20,000 a month in AP, you want to do get 40 leads a month or more.
Well said. I have a question for you. And I like, a lot of other insurance organizations. There's a ton of good insurance organizations out there, some great agencies. I won't bring up any names right now. And you hear all these different processes and stuff, and a lot of them talk about all the money that can be made. I don't want to touch on
Sure.
that, but I do want to ask, like, is it realistic for someone first year in telesales trying to make that transition from maybe they were selling cars or they were a school teacher or something like that? Is it realistic to say their first year they could make 60, 70,000 their first year doing telesales?
So, repeat that last part again.
Is it possible for someone starting out, a brand new agent that says, I'm going to get started, I've never done this before, I'm going to buy the number of leads that you said you're going to get, I'm going to get that amount of leads, and I'm going to work 5, 6 days a week, let's just say 5 days a week. Is it possible for that person to make 70, 75,000 plus a year?
I would say yes. First of all, there is a learning curve. So again, it's about income producing activity. How many dials are you actually making? So, it's very possible if you really commit yourself to dialing the entire time, even if you do not have the skill level, if you have extremely high activity, that's actually what matters more in this business than talent. in skill level. If you're willing to commit the time, your conversion is not going to be very high, but with the amount of reps, it's just like working out at the gym. It's just like doing exercise. If
That's right.
you continually build those muscles, you will be unstoppable. So
I
our challenge is the activity. If you can put in the activity and you have the work ethic, there are no limits to what you can do.
That's exactly right. So I know one of the things that I talk to our new teammates, because we recruit at a high level, and one of the things I talk to our new agents about is you can be terrible at this, but if you got 8, 10, 12 appointments in a week, you're going to sell 3 or 4 just because the people filled out the forms and you go
That's
see it.
correct.
Yeah, you're
That's
going to do that
correct.
anyway. The other ones you're going to have some skill, which comes over time. But I always explain you're never worse than what you are right now, because the more presentations you do, you're going to start realizing some of the things you do. You're going to pull the ums and the ahs, and you're going to ask them, "Here's your 3 options: good, better, best," and you're going to be quiet and not say anything until they pick. Those kind of techniques you learn over time. So now
That's
I don't
correct.
want to put you on the spot. So you've been here for a couple of years. I know you said you're kind of,
Sure.
I don't know how you say you're part-time, because you're one of the you're the first one on the telesales deal in the
That's
morning,
me.
and you
That's
go all
me.
the way. I mean, there's
That's
times
me.
I've hopped on at 7 o'clock and you're sitting there by yourself, still hammering the phone. So
So let
what
me
is
tell you why I say that real
your,
quick. The reason I say
okay.
I'm part-time is because I'm tracking that every dial is a minute of work, every presentation is an hour of work. And so
Hmm.
at the end of day, based on the dials and the presentations, if that is not 8 hours, then I consider myself not working a full-time day.
So what's a typical day? That's a really great point. I understand income producing activities. So if you're
Right.
making 100 dials a day, that's really, let's call it hour and a half, like an hour and a half, 90 minutes of work, right?
That's
Somewhere around there.
correct. That is correct. That is 100 dials a day is not a lot of work for
Right. People think
telesales.
it is because they're dialing the phone. There's all kinds of techniques. And
That's
then
not a
dialing
lot of
one
work.
person, you might have to double or triple tap them and all this kind of stuff,
Correct.
which we'll
That's
talk about here in a little
correct.
bit. But
That's
from
correct.
that standpoint, so I don't want to put you on blast. I know you could probably do this off in your sleep. But if
Sure.
you were to call me as a lead, let's role play a little bit. I won't be mean. I know you can
Not
handle it
no,
really well.
you're fine. You're fine. I'm
So if
comfortable.
you were to call me, and if you were to call me to, what would you say to me if you call? So ring ring.
Hello, Corey.
Yes.
Hey, Corey, this is just Sonya calling. I noticed here that you might have possibly looked into some protection for your family in the event of you passing away. I'm just checking back with you to see if I can still help.
Oh, I do remember filling that out. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, but I do remember filling that out. So, do you have
Okay,
to come to
okay,
my
Corey.
house
Well,
to
I'm
do that?
curious. Mhm.
Do you have to come to my house to do
You
that?
said what?
Do you have to come to my home to do
Oh,
that?
no, no, no. No, 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 no. This is something that we can do right over the phone. I don't have to come to your house, but I do have a question. What got you looking into the coverage in the first place?
I got some grandbabies. I got stuff through work, but I just want to make sure that my final expenses are in order, and maybe looking at something to put in place for them. That's it.
Okay, that's amazing that you're willing to do that for your family. I'm showing that you're 47 years of age. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Well, is this information for you or for another family member as well?
it's for me.
Okay, perfect, Corey. So before I go into what we do, I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you just to make sure that I can help you in the first place. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay, perfect. So do you have any insurance in place?
Just what I have at work.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Have you purchased any like burial plots or funeral packages at the funeral
No,
home?
nothing like that at all.
Oh, okay. Understood. So what expenses are you most concerned that your family would have to pay for out of pocket when you die?
Um, the service, the casket, because I want to be buried. The service, the casket. I know there's other things that go into it other than that, with my body having to be picked up, and the
Okay.
church service, all that kind of stuff. I'm aware of all those things, but I just want to make sure I'm not a burden. That's all.
Understood. Understood. Anything in addition to that are you concerned about?
No, everything else like that is in order. I wanted to have something earmarked just for my final wishes.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing you saying you don't want to be a burden. Are you worried about maybe your kids or your spouse having to come out of pocket? What do you mean by that?
My spouse. Yeah.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. I see. So if your spouse did have to come out of pocket if you passed, what kind of situation would that put her in?
Um, Probably a pretty tough one. I mean, I've done some research, so I know that most funerals are going to be between 10 to 15,000. I don't want to be,
Okay.
I won't put the Taj Mahal in the ground, but I also want to be put away nicely, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So thank you for helping me understand your situation. So what I'm getting is you're looking into some final expenses. The only insurance you have is from your job. You have not put any arrangements in place. Your spouse would be in charge if something were to happen to you, but you do not want to be a burden on her. Did I get everything all right so far?
Yeah, you nailed it. Yep.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Has anybody explained to you the difference between a whole life policy and a term policy?
Yeah, I know the difference. Term ends out, runs out 10, 15, 20, 30, and then whole life's for my whole life. Yep. Understood that.
I see. Perfect, perfect. Thank you for letting me know what knowledge you have on the subject. Pretty much term is temporary life insurance, just in case policy.
Yep.
It's good as a second policy, but it's not entailed for final expenses. Every time you renew it, the price is going to go up. So
Right.
whole life, the price is locked in. Death benefit does not decrease. It builds a little cash value you can borrow against. Does it make sense to you that whole life is what we need to talk about at this point?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, okay. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. And that's primarily what we deal with whole life. And there are tons of companies out there that sell whole life, but I'm going to explain to you why people get whole life with Lincoln Heritage. Have you had to be in charge of a funeral before?
No. So I'm going to pause. So I love your setup, and I've heard this
Okay,
before. I
good
love the
deal.
fact that you take the time to go through. I know there's all kinds of sales,
Yeah,
percentages and techniques and all
sure.
that kind of stuff. But do you feel the longer you keep them on the
Yep.
phone, or the longer you build that rapport, or the more questions you ask, the better off you are in reference to closing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in telesales, it's a little bit opposite than field. So when you cut to the chase a little bit too quick, it's harder to close them.
Hmm.
Because you're trying to build value the entire time. You're always trying to gain another minute. You're trying to get an emotional connection, which in sales we call that a hot button. So I'm trying to find the hot button when I'm talking to you,
Right.
so that if there's objections, I have to come around to that hot button again.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
heard you mention CRM. I heard you mention you keep track of your obviously you're keeping track of your dials and those kind of things and how many your income producing activities. So from that
Hmm.
standpoint, if somebody is, because especially this time of year when it's cold, if you had to give
Hmm.
1 or 2 points to a field agent that's wanting to transition to telesales, I know obviously we had to talk about hybrid as well. What would be 1 or 2 things that you would tell them from that perspective, from field to telesales?
Be prepared to dial. Um, and I mean, it's sometimes it's you have to keep it simple.
Yep.
Be prepared to dial and do a lot of it. 100 dials is a field agent setting appointments, not a telesales agent. So when you hear people say make 100 dials a day, that is not for telesales.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you need quite a bit more. 100 dials is not necessarily going to be an application. That may be a couple of appointments for the field, but you have to dial several hundred, and you cannot be scared to triple dial.
Yeah. I know. I don't talk about that a lot because I know, especially with new agents, they go, I'm not calling somebody. I said, that second, third time you hit the button to call somebody, they're
Yep,
going to answer. And people think,
they
oh my
are.
God, they're going to be upset with me. Most of the
They're
time they're
not
not.
going to be
They're like,
upset.
why'd you call me 3 times? Yeah. Especially once you go through and explain to them from what you're doing. So
Yeah.
first of all, again, I shouldn't say first of all, again, I really appreciate your time. This has been great. Thank you
Hmm.
for the role playing. I think
Thank
that
you for
will,
having
help
me.
some people, etc. So I know you're starting to get you've been building, but I know you've mentioned a couple times you're going to start building a team. You're kind of
Sure.
putting some things in place first. If somebody is looking for coverage for whatever reason, or looking to join your team, I know you're building it down there in Memphis, and you're building a call center, so they can pretty
Sure.
much be anywhere in
Yes.
our 7 states.
Yeah.
What's your contact information?
My contact information is area code 573-999-7089. It's my personal cell phone. So
Awesome. Awesome. Sonia, I appreciate all you do.
my pleasure.
You're helping a lot of people that you get absolutely nothing for. You're just helping them and being a great resource and a great teammate. I'm sure people will get something out of this because you've been doing a fantastic job. And again,
Thank
I
you.
want to try to stay away from the numbers, but I will ask you what's been your best, not income, just writing. What's been your best month in the field? What was your best month in the field?
So in the field, I think my best month might have been maybe around like 10 or 11, somewhere around there.
Okay. And then when you were hybrid, what was your best?
I would say kind of around the same. I didn't
Okay.
really scale because I was kind of split.
Okay.
Um,
And you
yeah.
know what question's coming next.
Telesales. So telesales at this point, I'm almost at 15, trying to get over the hump and get into the I'm in the 12 to 15 range, trying to get to 15 to 20 range. And again, it's just with time, increasing income producing activities. I'm pretty much need to double my activity, so and I'll be able to get there just fine.
Yeah. I was going to let you go, but this just popped in my head. And this doesn't get talked about a lot, especially on a podcast. What would you say to an agent that's afraid to buy leads? You kind of touched on this earlier. What would you say to that agent?
What would I say to that agent?
Mm,
Okay, so if that agent is afraid to buy leads and only wants to maybe work free age leads, then I would recommend 1,000 phone calls a day.
1,000. It's a lot of phone calls. Yeah, because you're
So,
going to have to dial a
yeah,
lot. So that tells you buy
absolutely.
leads, right? Stack the deck in your favor. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Sonia, appreciate your time. I appreciate you joining me, especially during this holiday season. I know we're getting close to Christmas. We have a lot of people that are trying or looking to transition. 'Cause I'm hearing it more and more transition in telesales. I'm sure this will be a super help. So appreciate your time, Sonia. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Corey.
Bye for now.